Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of Rant, your weekly dose of esports. I'm your host Leonyx, and I'm joined by special guest InnerFlame. This week, we'll be talking about his career and SK Gaming and its current situation in the EU LCS. Well, first off, InnerFlame, a lot of people know you as the head coach of SK Gaming, and I kind of wanted to know, how'd you get into the scene? I know that you've coached and managed a whole bunch of challenger teams. Please tell me, how did you enter the LoL scene?
About 4.5 years ago, I started in a community. I kind of helped it grow a bit. We held in-house tournaments, where we had different teams of random people, and one of the teams was pretty good. And obviously they were winning every in-house tournament, so they played some Go for Lols and started doing pretty well in Go for Lols, and player by player, it became a better team. And then from there, I was in Challenger, basically, just trying to win Challenger tournaments, online tournaments, whatever, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
So you were a proactive member in the LoL community at that point where you were just actively looking to manage a team, correct?
I wasn't specifically looking to manage a team. It was more like we had our own community, um, and I saw the opportunity with a team, and that's where I made that decision. I wasn't actively looking to do that. I was just more looking at getting more people into our community. Yeah.
I think anyone can, Google is your friend here. Anyone can look at those previous teams that Joe InnerFlame has worked on and helped make. But I really want to get into it of you as a person and as a professional. How do you look and scout out talent?
Well, it involves a lot of spectating solo queue, and not only looking at the person that you're watching at, also looking at the people around the person. So, um, yeah, just spectating one game after another, looking at good and bad habits, um, consistency in general. I mean, you can take so much from solo queue, and then you have to put them into a pre-made environment as well, into a team environment, and see how they adapt to that as well. And yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of straightforward, but it really isn't. It requires a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of no-lifing.
You coached a lot of teams in the challenger level ladder, and you spoke to me recently about some players that are actually in the EU LCS right now. Who are those players, and have they? Are you still friends with them? What's the relationship like?
Um, well, I mean, off the top of my head, I could say well, Mr. Ellis just went out of LCS. He was the first person I worked with. But I mean, he was in the LCS for the longest time. And he was my very first kind of player that I worked with as well. I mean, if I just mention a bunch of players like Mythy, Incarnation, who will probably be working there. New Ducks is another one. Um, yeah, I've had Zoro Zero and a lot of different players. I mean, the list could go on, but they're probably the most notable names, I think.
Okay, so SK Prime, how'd you run into the organization of SK Gaming? I'm sure, and when I speak to Alex Mueller, he speaks highly of you. So, yeah, how did that work out in terms of your favor?
Well, so how did SK happen?
Yeah.
Or how did main roster happen? Um, I guess he's just saw something from me, from Prime. Um, I took a risk at first, taking the team. Prime when I took it was a bunch of no names, and people called me an idiot for not taking one of the more popular teams, which we had the option to take. In the end, we won nearly everything and finished second in the playoffs. So I think he saw my kind of ability in scouting and also just managing the team to the very end, Um, and then he told me to joined him to the store to buy something for his daughter, and told me he wanted to offer me the spot of the managing coach in the LCS team, and I took a few days to kind of consider it because I had a few offers here and there. I was kind of uncertain of my future at the time, but I decided to take the offer and leave home, move to Berlin. Yeah,
Sounds like the dream, the esports dream, right?
yeah, you could call it that. Yeah, it's super stressful, but I don't regret my decision at all.
So one of the players that you've brought from SK Prime is obviously Fox to the main roster. Was that the your decision? Like, does Alex give you or SK give you the end all be all decision on roster changes?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I have the full permission to do what I want with the roster, but Fox was definitely my recommendation. He wouldn't have even got a trial without me, like heavily suggesting him. And then he kind of grew on Sven, and Sven duo queued a lot with him. They actually had like instant synergy. They played on Smurfs together, and they like equaled Incarnation's record of, I think it was like 65-3 to Challenger or Master. I don't remember what it was, but I remember they like equaled his record going there, and people thought it was Sven duo queuing with Incarnation, but it was actually Fox. Yeah.
At the time, hypothetically, you speak highly of Fox, and he's done great throughout the entire EU LCS. But at that time, and with connections of SK, and if Incarnation was unbanned at the time, would Fox still even had a chance?
Yes. Without a doubt.
Well, I know that they call Incarnation the Western Apto, right? Is this true? I mean, like you probably had one of the most experiences with the guy. I mean, he's coached before you at Worlds season 4. So what's your relationship with Incarnation, if there is any?
I don't talk with him that much anymore. When I played, when he played under me, he was very cooperative. He was very easy to work with. He was very hungry, and I think he's found new motivation with being unbanned, or also having the possibility, having the possibility to be unbanned in the first place. Would I say he's the same player that he was back then? Well, he definitely knows way more about the game, and partly due to coaching SK. Would I say he's the same player in solo queue that he was last year? No, I wouldn't say that. So I think he needs to find his touch again, because I feel right now he's not where he has been.
Now that you're on the main roster of, I guess not main roster, but main management for SK, how's the entire SK setup? To my understanding, it's the team commutes to work every day. The in-house is completely different from the office. How does SK run, and how do you manage that?
So we have a training facility, literally 1 kilometer away from our apartments. We have 2 apartments of 3, so we all have our own room. That's pretty important. So 3 of us live in one, 3 live in the other. We live above each other as well, which is kind of convenient. Literally in the same building, and it's a 10-minute walk to the facility. So if you could call that a commute, I wouldn't. I mean, that's kind of pushing it, but like it's a 10-minute
You just end up
walk.
walking.
Yeah, I mean it's well within walking distance. It's really easy, and it's nice to kind of separate work and home, and that's what we kind of aim to do. I saw a lot of benefits in it. It's really good when you have the equipment around, and we had a pretty good setup in there. So if you can like utilize the resources you have around you, then it can be really good. But I feel like it might not be for every team, depending on the motivation of the team and the kind of hunger, how much they want to like sit around together, watch you players do this and that. I mean, it's just if you're content with just being in LCS and doing what you can to stay in LCS, then it's not for you. But if you want to win a tournament, then having a room just to come up with everything, with the whiteboard, with the TV, everything, like a separate place to play, then it's definitely the thing to do.
Now, obviously, you being new this season, working with Fox before, who are the closest players that you've developed relationships with? Are you really close with everyone? Do you guys go out all the time? How's that dynamic work with you?
Within the team,
Yeah,
I mean,
who's close to
okay.
you, I guess, right?
So I've worked with Fox the longest, so we're very much used to each other. We find it easy to work with each other, always have done, and honestly haven't really had any problems. Otherwise, I've just been trying to find a way to bond with the others, and I think it's like starting to develop now, a bit more now that I've had a split with them. And I think the longer I do it, the more used to each other we'll get, and then it will be like way better. But I still think we're not quite there. Like me, and I'm not saying everyone else necessarily. I've known Unrated for a long time. I won't really go into specifics, but I think we're getting there, at least on a personal basis. Yeah.
Okay, so that's your personal area. Okay, so now we go into the EU LCS. SK has an incredible opening, going undefeated for like 8-0, and then dropping off a couple games and actually securing the number one seed going into the playoffs. Was that to be expected? I mean, for you being a rookie coach, is that just like, oh, we kind of expected this, or how did that come out to be?
Everything I wanted to do was to try and make us finish first place. We finished first place after regular split. That was our target. Ideally, we would have wanted to go unbeaten, but we didn't. Hey, you can't expect that, you know. But we had a pretty good record, 15-3. We broke a lot of records, and we developed a playstyle which was perfect, pre-tank meta, you know. And I mean, it was even apparent against G Tigers, where we had a advantage for a while when they were the best team in the world. Like, we actually had an advantage up until 20 minutes. It was when we screwed up is when we lost the game. So I don't think it was them forcing mistakes out of us. It was us giving them the opportunity to just come back in the game, and then they didn't give us an opportunity to come back, and we lost the game. But I think our playstyle was really strong, and before people kind of figured us out, I don't think we were beatable by any team in the West. But as the patches went on and as stuff got buffed and nerfed, and people had more time to research and people had more time to watch replays of us, we didn't adapt quick enough, and ultimately that was kind of our downfall coming to playoffs.
So one of the biggest topics in EU LCS going against SK Gaming is obviously Forgiven, God given, whatever you want to call him. He demonstrates that he is, target priority AD carry. He puts the carry into the AD carry name. That strikes 3 bans and even bans on the on your team as well. Does that affect any of the strategy going into games now? Is it true that his champion pool is limited? I'm sure he can play many other champions. It's just, does that affect your position as a coach at all?
See, I think Forgiven plays a lot of champions, just not everything that is being required to play at the moment, like what's in at the moment, is necessarily in his champ pool. So you take away what's going to be good anyway, the lane bullies, and then you force him to play something which isn't going to have the same early impact on the laning phase. And then he's forced to play something which has to scale, and you can't play the same play style with a scaling AD carry. And again, that was our fault as a team, including Costa, for not adapting to that, and I think being a bit more strict with certain things about how we needed to adapt, and we didn't adapt. And yeah, that was our downfall, just not adapting.
You guys, SK ends up fourth place, unfortunately, in the EULCS. Knowing that you guys had a little hiccups at the kind of like the end of the split, was this kind of expected, or what was the changes going into the playoffs?
Um, from the start, we wanted to finish first. We aimed to finish first. We had a really close series against UOL, and it took a really big impact on the players. And we were also kind of shell shocked. And I'm not saying these are excuses, but they played a part into the reason why we also lost against HDK. But I feel, at least at that point in the season, the top four teams that got to the semis and finals were all very, very close in ability. And I think it could have been any combination of teams, first, second, third, and fourth. We just didn't perform in our series, and we were worse on the day. We weren't as good comparably compared to like other patches before, and yeah, that's why we finished fourth.
Okay, so everyone on SK is deemed almost, the best in their role, almost. Two of them being maybe, Fox. Did Fox kind of exceed expectations or surpass them
No,
for you?
if you go scroll back on my Ask FM, I said he'll be top 3, top 2 this split, and I definitely think he was. I think what people fail to understand about Fox is he went even or one lane very often when he was starved of resources. He, yeah, Forgiven did come in and take his farm, and he still maintained an advantage or stayed even in the lane, and that's not something that every mid laner in Europe can say they were doing, because nobody else was kind of starved resources in the same way. That's why I put him top 2. I still think he's top 2. Yeah. Yeah.
So a little bit of the rumor mill. I kind of want to like tackle as well. After IEM, that was a big tournament for you guys. Obviously, it's unfortunately you go 0-2, but against 0-3 against GE Tigers and Flash Wolves, and then there's the rumor of Forgiven being kind of upset after that tournament. Is this true? And there was that one rumor with the Yeliseng coming over to SK and raided. Can you please shed some light on that subject?
The Hilisan thing was a load of rubbish. Like, no truth to it whatsoever. I think it was just published to run off the story about Forgiven. And I mean, you only need to watch Summoning Insight and Forgiven's comments about it to know what happened there. So I think that story or rumor about Hillesang was just a load of rubbish, which took advantage of the bad spotlight coming on us. And it was very good of us to bounce back that same weekend and go to after having something like that. I mean, it's very hard to have 2 rumors like that and then go into a week to secure our first place. Where there was a lot of importance going into that week as well. So a lot of credit to the guys for actually getting their shit together and sticking through it. But I mean, people can say what they like, but there was absolutely no truth in the Hillesang thing.
When we talked, you talked about shot calling and how you actually don't really believe there is one designated shot caller, but unless you have a really good grasp in the current game itself, you're like, okay, that guy is your shot caller. What I really want to know is how the team communicates within a game, and who the voices are on the team. Because Freddy seems to me he's kind of a quiet guy. Sven may talk up a little bit. Fox definitely seems like a quiet guy. Forgiven seems like an outspoken guy, and then Rated, I would assume, would be most of the shot calling. Can you really verify that on who's the voices of SK Yami?
So there are 2 ways of shot calling. There's one which is like the former Cloud9 model with high. You put all of your trust onto one person. but everyone in the team needs to have absolute faith in his decisions to remove all kind of hesitation when he makes a call. That's fine if you can have that, but there are not many teams around who can put all of their trust into one player, and there aren't many people who can actually fit that role either. So, I mean, all credit to Hai for doing that, and that, yeah, it's just rare. The other thing is, everyone talks. However, the main responsibility of making the calls is on the person who is the most fed, while they have the most influence on the game. So, um, everybody should be playing around the person who has the highest probability to carry the game, and I believe that's the best way to do it. That's why I would say there really isn't a designated shot caller. Some talk more than others based on their personality, but I think everyone would be surprised at who talks the most as a whole. And it's definitely one of the people that people would consider shy, you know. But I mean, if I talked in detail about this, I revealed names, then it will put my team at a disadvantage next split because they know who to try and target in game potentially. I would much rather not going to go into detail about that, but I think what's important is that everyone understands the mindset that I want to have in the team, at least.
What's some future expectations for SK Gaming, your team, for the next split?
Next split, we'll try to win again. I mean, right now we're deciding what we need to do that. We're going to review everything, absolutely everything, and I mean, nothing's certain at the moment. Whether that would be anything, whether that's my place, whether that's whoever's place, whether that's something we do, whether it's how we do things, it doesn't matter. Like right now, we all need to sit together. We all need to see what we need to change, what we need to improve on, and do what we can to finish first. That's our goal. That's what I want to do. That's what everyone in the team wants to do, and that's not going to change going into next split.
So, last question for SK Gaming specifically: does this mean the roster is going to be the same?
It could be. Yeah, it could be. Right now, I will just say it could be. It might not be. It just depends what we all agree on as a team. We haven't discussed that yet. We just need to see what we all believe in, and that includes Alex, that includes Lucas, that includes whoever's involved in the team. We all need to see what we want next split, how we can fix our own problems, most importantly, whether we can fix the problems we already have as well within the team, because ideally we'd all like to stay together, because we must have built some synergy working together over a split, especially considering we finished first place in the regular season and we still finished top 4 in playoffs. And it's nothing bad, but it's still underachieving by our standards. So if we can find a way to fix things as a team, with the current set of players we have, then we'll do that. And if we feel that we can't do that, then the roster change is justified. But that is not something that we know yet, because we are probably going to do that this week and try and iron out our problems.
Fair enough. I guess that sums up for the questions for SK Gaming. We'll talk about more of like the overall scene. I know that you guys are licking your wounds and moving into the next split, but there's a lot of movement in Europe, and I kind of wanted to get your opinions on a couple players. One being Incarnation. Do you think he's coming to NA? I'm assuming everyone's saying, he's going to C9. Is this verified?
I don't know. People can believe the rumors, whatever. I mean, personally, I hope he stays in Europe, because I feel it will be better for the personal development of the player in his role.
Mm-hmm. I know, going in hindsight of the IEM, this was maybe going to happen, but all of the crazy upsets were going. SK versus Cloud9, SK, maybe even TSM on the other side of the bracket. Do you feel that you guys were kind of even at that area, or do you feel that one region was a little bit more dominant than the other?
At that point in time, I felt that we could have beaten TSM, and I think everyone in the team believed that. I felt that we could have shown that we were the best team in the West. We didn't take advantage of the format. We actually let it be a hindrance to us, and we never really got our chance to show that. And what people can criticize us on is, oh, you didn't scrim any international teams, as Forgiven said, but that was actually due to the fact that we approached some international, or actually nearly all of them at the event, bar the ones who were in our group who wouldn't have wanted to play us anyway. And we even considered doing so, even asked the opponent, like the potential opponent, if they would like to, and they declined, and we declined as well. So scrimming people in our group, international teams in our group, was never a possibility. When we approached other teams, it was one of two things: either they didn't have a place to play, which turned out not to be true. So obviously we were being avoided because some way. The other thing is we were traveling on the day where people had got over their jet lag, people sat down and scrimmed, you know. So we were predominantly scrimming, or nearly exclusively scrimming people in our own region. And if people would like to question that, then they can. But I mean, that's how it was. That's how it was at the time. It wasn't like we didn't try. It's not like we didn't approach the people. We just weren't given the opportunity to do so. Yeah.
All right. Any shout outs, plugins?
Yeah, shout outs to my family, shout outs to SK and the sponsors, and shout out to my girlfriend.
All right. Okay. I guess that sums up Riff Rant today or this week. This is your weekly dose of esports. Other than that, till next time, guys.